All right, welcome everyone to this orthogonal skills development webinar. This is going to be a very important webinar because I guess that by now everybody understands that AI is here to stay, and therefore the question is, how can you survive and thrive in the age of AI? Welcome. So I'm just going to set up this live stream for my Facebook group. Just give me 1 minute, please, and I will get started. But in the meantime, you can take out a notepad and take notes, because this is going to be very critical to your future and your children's future. And while I'm setting it up, just want to thank my brother Joe for initiating and sustaining this conversation, which is very important. And so in the middle of having this conversation with Joe, I came up with this idea of orthogonal skills development. And by the way, this is just one example of how, you have to talk to people. You have to have serious conversations, and Joe and I, we have very serious conversations about important topics. And so, all right, so let's just get started. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about what I mean by orthogonal, but this is probably going to be a very important keyword as you strategize whether you want to upgrade your skills or acquire new skills, whether you want to choose a career, if you're a young person, or transition to a new career if you don't like your job, or whether you're launching a new business or running your business. You really have to understand that it has to be orthogonal to AI development. So first of all, what does orthogonal mean exactly? Well, orthogonal simply means that it's technically, it's statistically independent from another event. So to give an example, let me see. Let's say we have, that's really funny. I can't come up with an example. Maybe I need more coffee. Hold on. Okay, I got it. I think that everybody knows about NVIDIA. So if you're an investor in NVIDIA, that's great for you. But it doesn't matter whether there's a bubble or whether NVIDIA will continue its spectacular rise to becoming, it's already the most valuable company in the world, but it doesn't matter what's happening with the NVIDIA stock. So that's one trend. Let's say that let's say in my case, I'm practicing calligraphy, and I want to become better and better. So let's say, every day I practice, let's say 30 minutes of calligraphy. So my skill in calligraphy keeps getting better and better. And it doesn't matter what's happening with NVIDIA stock. These are two different developments. So that's what I mean by orthogonal. In other words, if I keep practicing calligraphy, I'm going to get better and better with calligraphy, even if the NVIDIA stock plummets. It doesn't matter. Okay, these are two independent events. Okay, so this is very important to understand, and you have to really intimately understand orthogonal if you want to strategize regarding the emerging AI economy. So practically speaking, I'm going to draw a diagram to show you, because it's always more engaging visually. So imagine that AI develops in a certain way. Okay, so this is AI development, and of course it's very difficult to predict how powerful it's going to become, because according to Sam Altman, they're going to reach AGI by 2029 or 2028, but probably before 2030. Okay, so there are different milestones. For example, this would be one milestone, this would be another milestone, this would be another milestone. And I think that there's been talks about OpenAI becoming a public company through their IPO, and because they need a lot of capital, and once they become a publicly traded company, their development is going to be even faster. So this is just a speculation on my part, but let's say that in 2026, ChatGPT, and I'm using ChatGPT because there's 800 million people, and so people know, but it can be any large language model. It could be a model from China, for example. So let's say that in 2026, ChatGPT is able to, let me see, write a business plan customized for you. So right now it can write business plans, but it's not really that good. It's good for people who are not in business, but I used to teach business planning, and I look at it and it's not, as a professor I would give it maybe a B minus, a B plus, but not an A. But let's say that in early 2026 AI can ask you questions, right? So you don't have to prompt anything. AI can ask you a question. They will interview you for 30 minutes. So let's say ChatGPT will interview you, because it has to really know your situation, what is your budget, what is your goal, what is your mission with that business. It has to really know everything about you, and right now it doesn't do that. So it will interview you and then write a business plan customized for you. Okay, so that's milestone number 1. That's in 2026. Now imagine that in 2027 it gets better. It does interview, it writes a business plan, but now ChatGPT or some other large language model that has AI agents, it could be Meta, okay, will actually run. Now it designs, right? It will actually design, write, and run Facebook ads, because no matter how great your digital product is or your physical product, you have to do advertising, okay? Because business is basically innovation and marketing. And so, like in my case, I can do copywriting, I can design, but I don't know exactly how Facebook ads work. But Mark Zuckerberg says that in the future, Meta is gonna run your ads for you. So I just have to give it, a budget of, let's say, $100 per week, and then every week it runs ads, and the return on ad spend, let's say it's 2-to-1, which is very low, but let's be conservative. And so every week I put in $100 and I get $200. And so with the $200 next week, I'm gonna do the same thing, and therefore next week I'm gonna get $400. And this is revenue, by the way. It's not profit margin. So let's say my profit margin is 50%. It means that I put in $400, I'm gonna make a net profit, because the return on ad spend is 2-to-1. So I put in $400, I'm gonna get a net profit of $200. And so with that $200 the following week, I do the same thing. But this is not good, because I'm not growing. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the ad spend should be 4-to-1, especially because the Facebook ads will be run by Meta, and AI at Meta. So anyways, my point is that it can actually run the Facebook ads, and I just have to put in the money. And so this is very significant. I'm a digital marketing teacher, and I can tell you that that's probably the main challenge that most entrepreneurs have, how to run ads that gives you a return on ad spend, a ROAS, return on ad spend of 4-to-1, meaning that you put $1 and you get $4 in return. And so this is for 2027, but again, it could come in 2026. We just don't know. This is just an example. And then if we keep up with this trend, and I agree with Joe that it's going to get better and better. So here, not only it does everything it was capable of doing in 26 and 27, but here, ChatGPT or Meta will, create digital products for me after an interview. So it's going to talk about what I know, my expertise, my experience. So it's going to say, hey, Peter, you've been a teacher of digital marketing. It's going to ask me a lot of questions. How do I teach? What do I like to teach? And what is my expertise exactly? Because I used to teach email marketing, but email marketing or copywriting or professional sales, those are big areas. So it's going to interview me, and then it's going to create, like within minutes or even seconds, ebooks based on my expertise. It's going to create video courses using AI voices that sound very human, right? So it's going to create video courses, which are very difficult to create, by the way. It's more difficult than ebooks. And it can also create web apps that are interactive and engaging and fun. And of course, I'm going to charge for all these products. But my point is that it's going to be able to innovate. Okay? It's going to be able to create all these products. So I'm going to put it here just so we're clear. It can do innovation, whereas the year before it could only do advertising, and then the year before 2006 it can only do planning. So I totally agree with Joe that you have to expect ChatGPT to keep getting better and better. So planning is good, but it's still on paper, right? It's still theoretical. You have to take action. So here in 27, it's actually taking action online through Facebook ads. It could be Google ads, could be LinkedIn ads, YouTube ads. It could be, email marketing, sales funnels, anything that has to do with advertising. Let's say that it can do that in 27. And in 2028, it can create tons and tons of products. And so these are examples, in the business world of what we can expect AI to be able to do. And anyone who is tracking the trends, and especially anyone like Joe and myself who are playing, for hours every day with ChatGPT, we understand how it develops, especially when you compare with, GPT-5 with GPT-4, GPT-3, etc. There's no doubt that eventually it can do those things. My timeline might be wrong. Maybe it can do it faster than 27 or 28, but it will be able to do those things. And so once you psychologically accept that, and it can be hard for people, like if you're a digital marketer and you specialize in Facebook ads, it's going to be humbling for you to imagine that one day, they don't need Facebook ad managers anymore. So there's a whole bunch of people, like thousands and maybe tens of thousands of digital marketing professionals who will lose their job, because why would you hire a Facebook ad manager? ChatGPT can create ads, and it can easily monitor the performance of those ads 24/7. Like if you're a Facebook ad manager, you cannot monitor 24/7. You only work 8 hours a day, right? And in those 8 hours, you're not going to monitor all the time, but ChatGPT or Meta will, especially Meta, because Facebook ads run on Meta is going to monitor the ads, and it can alert you. So let's say you're running a split testing campaign. It can tell you, John, through a notification, John, campaign B has definitely proven that it generates more revenue. You should stop campaign A. And so it can alert you. It can do the work for you. It can alert you like as if it was your, manager running 24/7, right? Like even during the weekends. And so that's just Facebook ad managers. And so if you're a digital marketing professional and you do Facebook ads or Google ads, you have to not develop your skills in that direction, because ultimately it's going to be done by AI. And again, it's very hard for people psychologically, because someone might have spent 5 years learning how to use Facebook ads and how to optimize those ads. They might run an Facebook ad agency, for example. And so people have a tendency to believe that whatever they're doing is difficult, is complex. AI will never be able to do that. But when you look at self-driving cars, my God, we're talking about something, driving a car where it can actually kill people. Now think about that. If the robo-taxi by Tesla, and they launched it in Austin, Texas, I think it's been successful, and Waymo from Google, if we can trust AI to do something that could result in killing human beings, if we can trust it to do that, well, obviously we can trust it to run Facebook ads, because nobody's going to get killed, if the AI designs the wrong Facebook ads, nobody's going to die. And in the same manner, we have a website. I tried to use it, but it's only accessible to professionals. It's called Open Evidence, and it's a website that has AI that health professionals, doctors, for example, can use in order to have access to, like medical AI that will help them. So even for something as complex as medicine, we have an AI for that. So my point is that you want to understand and study where AI is going in your particular field, whether you're a doctor, in this case, you're a Facebook ad manager, you have to study that, because, if AI is able to achieve those milestones, then you should stop your Facebook ad career and you should go in another direction. And this is what I call the orthogonal direction. So we're going to represent it with an arrow here that goes up, and that's what I mean by orthogonal. Orthogonal means that the direction of your career development is orthogonal or perpendicular to the direction of AI, which is here. And so it doesn't matter, okay, just to give an example and to follow up on this analogy, let's say that you're a Facebook manager. Instead of continuing your skills development in Facebook ads, of course you should continue to do that because that makes money for you. But instead, if you want to prepare for the future, you can develop your leadership ability, because you're going to have to manage a bunch of human beings who are managing the meta AI that runs the Facebook ads. So leadership is always going to be needed. Why? Because there's no way that one day we're going to have ChatGPT that's going to be the leader. Nobody's going to follow ChatGPT, okay? Like, ChatGPT cannot do a rallying speech on Zoom or in person and tell people, guys, let's go for it. ChatGPT cannot, it can encourage you, of course. It can advise you, it can comfort you, but that's not leadership. Leadership is about courage. It's about acting even though you're afraid of acting. It's about making tough decisions even though you have incomplete information. So leadership is a skill that you can develop. Leadership, a lot of people think that, oh, this guy's a born leader. No, he might have had an advantage, during his upbringing, or he might have the extroverted personality of a leader, and so it's easier for him to become a true leader. But leadership is like creativity. It's like any other skill. It could be a personal quality, like an innate quality, but anyone can develop leadership in the same way that anyone can develop creativity. You just have to commit to act while other people are not acting. So leadership is not about position. It's not about your title as a VP or as a director. No, you can be a secretary and still be a leader. You can lead a project. You can lead people. But you have to overcome your fear. You have to exercise your courage. Courage, again, is not something that you have. It's something you exercise. Everyone has courage because everyone has a heart. You just have to give your heart a chance and not just, work and live with your head only. So leadership, if you develop your leadership ability, because it is an ability that can be learned, it's a skill, then you're going to be fine in your career. Another orthogonal skill that you can develop is proactivity. A lot of people today, they play with ChatGPT, which is fine, but you got to do something. It's not just playing with ChatGPT. Whether you're learning value investing, whether you're learning project management, whatever you're learning from ChatGPT, you got to take action. Because again, ChatGPT is unlikely to take action on your behalf. Optimus maybe, but even Optimus, we're going to be very cautious in the next 3 to 5 years. We're not going to give something important for Optimus to do. We're going to tell Optimus, hey, can you fold those clothes over there, or can you empty the garbage bin, or can you, something very simple that it can do in the garden. But even gardening, it's not that simple. And so proactivity, or taking action, while everyone else is like zombies and they're just sitting in front of a computer and playing with ChatGPT and writing poetry, that's not good for your career. Writing poetry is fine, but you got to do something. So being proactive, taking action. Like I go on Facebook, I created in early 2023, like after only 2 weeks of playing with ChatGPT, I created a Facebook group, and I just want to plug it here so that you join. Like almost like 1,000 people have joined already. I highly recommend it. Of course, I'm not objective, but it's where I share my research proactively. If I know it, you know it, okay? And that's my promise to you. And it's focused on making money from ChatGPT, and that's it. So that's an opportunity for you right there to be proactive. Don't just watch this webinar. Like if you're not in my Facebook group, just go ahead. It's free. I'm never going to charge you for that. And researching and thinking and analyzing anything that has to do with AI and business and career, that's what I do full time. Like I even work like over 8 hours a day. Translation, I don't have a social life, but I'm sacrificing myself for you. So I've invited people, my Facebook friends. I have nearly 500. I'm going to invite my 21,000 LinkedIn connections. But I'm inviting people. I tell them, guys, like you're part of my network on Facebook. I care about you. I'm inviting you. I'm giving you the best of what I know how to do. And so if you don't join, then you are definitely not proactive, or you're sleeping. You don't care about your career, which is not the case. So please just join, make money from ChatGPT. Join my Facebook. I promise I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm going to give you the best research I came up with. And I've been doing that for over 2 years. And I have thousands of posts and a lot of discounts, a lot of products that you get for free. You can resell, you can make money. I don't care. I just want you to do better economically, financially, by leveraging AI. So proactivity is one thing you got to do. Don't be like 95% of people who just sit around and wait and wait and wait. Like, it's like Bitcoin. If you invested, a few years ago, you would have multiplied by 4 your money right now. I've been telling my friends, and it's just my brother Joe and my dentist friend Alex who have invested in Bitcoin. Nobody else, even in my family. I don't know why people are so passive. But anyways, enough about this ranting. You got to be proactive. You got to take action. This is one thing that, like even if you don't have leadership, just take action. Just play with ChatGPT, for crying out loud. It's free. Like people, I'm a little bit aggressive about this because people are sleeping. They don't understand the tsunami that is coming. Elon Musk calls AI the supersonic tsunami. You look at the regular tsunami, okay, you can see the water coming, you have time to run, but when we talk about supersonic tsunami, it's gonna come, you won't see it. And that's why you got to be proactive. Okay, here's another ability that you should develop. It's copywriting. So copywriting means using language, words that will sell something to people, like even while you're sleeping. So that's important. Now, of course, ChatGPT can do the copywriting for you. It can generate a lot of very persuasive sales letters. But here, what I mean is that you have to understand the concepts behind copywriting. Frameworks like AIDI, storytelling. The 7 ways to convince someone. I'm going to talk about these 7 ways later on. But ChatGPT doesn't know about these 7 ways. So this is a secret technique that I'm going to teach. So when I say copywriting, it's not 100% orthogonal to ChatGPT or any language model. What I mean is that you should master the high-level concepts, because ChatGPT can do the technical copywriting, but it's probably not going to be able to do high-level copywriting like the kind that Gary Halbert is doing. So you can check him out online. He's dead now, but he used to be a great copywriter. Like, his sales letters sound like stories. Imagine you receive an email and it's like a fascinating story. You read it, and by the time you get to the end of the story, you want to buy the product. That's how amazing Gary was. And so that's what I mean by copywriting. And copywriting goes hand in hand with salesmanship, so you have to learn the basics of selling. Again, ChatGPT and probably Amazon, and I know that Temu, the Chinese e-commerce platform, it has an AI already. So I have a friend who's using Temu, and he's talking to an AI, and the AI on Temu is super polite, and it's accessible 24/7. So it's not hard to imagine that Amazon, Temu, or AliExpress, Alibaba, all these e-commerce platforms, they will have an AI that will sell to people. And because the AI at Temu understands your sales history, it knows exactly how to sell to you better than a salesperson, right? Because it can say something like, hey, Alex, you bought like 3 suits in the past, and as a loyal customer, we want to give you the next suit that you're going to buy for, let's say, $100, but we're going to give you a discount of let's say $30. And of course, let's say my friend Alex is not going to be able to resist that, because obviously he's building a wardrobe of tuxedos of different colors, and he wants to buy the next one, and suddenly he gets a discount of $30, so he will buy. So that's what I mean. The AI will be able to sell. But again, you have to understand selling at a very high level, so that you can manage the sales efforts of an AI on an e-commerce platform. So copywriting and sales are not 100% orthogonal, but still you have to master those skills at a very high level. Another skill that you can develop that is orthogonal to AI development, let me think. It could be creativity. Creativity specifically means able to generate ideas on demand. Now, I know Joe will say that ChatGPT can generate tons of ideas for you, and he's right. So maybe instead of creativity, which means generating ideas on demand, we can talk about innovation, which means imagining new products. And I mean, really imagining, like, the iPhone or, the iPod. I know this is a very high bar, and I don't expect anyone to be like Steve Jobs, but you have to be able to imagine new products or services that human beings need. And this is an area where we still have an advantage over ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is not a human being. It doesn't understand the frustration that people have, right? Frustration that parents have, frustration that students have, frustration, because it doesn't have lived experience, what they call lived experience. So it has all the answers, all the knowledge, all the text, but it doesn't understand the frustration that people have. Maybe one day it will. So we can say that innovation or imagining new products, it's a temporary orthogonality. Okay, so we're going to say that some of these skills and abilities I'm talking about, let's say that they have temporally orthogonal, meaning that for now AI cannot do it. So for a short period of time you're going to be fine. But there are some skills, for example, like leadership, it's permanently orthogonal. I don't see a time when a ChatGPT or even Optimus, okay, I don't see a time when we'll see Optimus standing on stage and motivating human beings to do something. Maybe Optimus, like let's say an Optimus leader, let's call him Spartacus, is going to be able to lead other Optimus robots. But I don't think that a robot can lead human beings. It's very unlikely, and therefore leadership has 100% permanent orthogonality. So if you develop leadership, there is no way, well, I can't say really no way 100%. I'm an investor. I hate certainty like that. So we can say that 99% probability that if you have leadership, it's going to be a valuable skill to have. Proactivity, it's not 90%. It's not 99%. You know what? Because AI agents today can be proactive on your behalf, and they can be proactive 24 hours a day. You cannot be proactive 24 hours a day because you have to sleep, right? So proactivity is a short-term orthogonality. Same thing with copywriting and sales. One day it's going to write sales letters like Gary Halbert. Innovation, I'm not sure. It depends on the kinds of innovation. But my point here is that whether your skills, or abilities are 100% orthogonal or just temporarily orthogonal, you still have to go in the direction of this arrow, which has little to do with the direction of AI development. That's my only message. And if you understand that, you're going to do fine. But I want to show you a visual diagram that will drive home the value that you're going to get when you implement this method of developing your skills orthogonally. They have to find another synonym. This word is so damn hard to pronounce. Okay, you have to. Okay, but anyways, my point is that orthogonal. Okay, orthogonal is the key word here. Okay, it's the key word. It's a word that when you wake up in the morning, you have to think about. Okay, how can I be orthogonal today? Okay, how can I be orthogonal? And this reminds me, like one skill that I always try to develop is comedy. Like when you ask ChatGPT for a joke, it's always coming up with the same three jokes, the same three goddamn jokes. Excuse my French, but so comedy, humor, it's something that you can develop. Okay, it's very unlikely that you open your ChatGPT account or page and suddenly, hey Peter, I have a joke for you. It's very unlikely, and its jokes are usually not that good. So comedy, or the ability, like if we look at it at a higher abstraction level, the ability to make people laugh, or make them relax, or make them smile, that is going to be a very important skill to develop. And comedy writing, I love to write comedy. When I was teaching at Taft College, standing in front of a classroom from 2017 to 2022, so that's 5 years, I used to, well, don't tell the college, but my students know, I used to use it as a platform for stand-up comedy. I would tell jokes all the time and tell stories, and students were laughing. There was one story I told them, I was a Concordia student, of course, as with all students, especially in journalism. I was studying journalism, and I invited this beautiful Chinese girl, who she was my senior at Concordia, even though she was younger, because I joined Concordia when I was 25 or something. And so I took her to our first date. I took her to McDonald's. Okay, now I know, don't judge me, I was a poor student. Okay, so I took her to McDonald's, and I bought her a Happy Meal. Happy Meal is one of those combo. I bought her a Happy Meal, and I looked at her, but she didn't look happy. And when I told my students, they were really laughing at me, and I was telling them tons of other jokes. So, like maybe one day ChatGPT is going to be a better teacher than I can ever be. Maybe Optimus is going to be standing up there. Maybe, it's even going to, maybe not Optimus because it's more like an industrial robot, but something like Figure, or I don't know if you heard about the new Neo, what is it, 1X? And these are robots that can look like human beings, look like very human-like. So I don't know, maybe one day there's going to be a teacher that looks like Scarlett Johansson, although I don't recommend that because students would be too distracted, especially male students. But anyway, if there's a human looking robot that can teach the way that I used to teach at Taft College, well then, teachers will lose their job. But if there are teachers who are good with comedy, who can make people laugh, relax, can make them smile, and can make them, a teacher who can tell human stories to make, people feel like sad, but in a good way, then that teacher is going to keep his job, because it's very unlikely that an Optimus robot can teach with humor and with comedy. And so comedy is probably a skill that you can develop. And just to be clear, I just want to reiterate, a lot of people think, oh, I'm not really a funny person, or I'm not really a leader, I'm more like a follower, or I'm not good with selling, and I'm not good with new ideas. Now, you have to forget about that. And I think that that's one of the major barriers to people. The barrier is not that AI will develop. That's not the barrier. We all know this. That's not the barrier, because AI will develop. It doesn't matter what you think, what you believe. It doesn't matter. I like the saying, you have the right to your own opinion, but you don't have the right to your own facts. Okay, and the fact is, AI will develop, whether you want to or not, whether you resist it or not. It don't matter. It's going to develop. Don't resist it, like Joe would say. Don't resist the trend. It's going to kill you. So you can't do anything about AI development as shown in this thick arrow. You can't do anything regarding AI development, but you can do something in regards to your skills development. Okay, and you have to understand that all those things that I mentioned before, they're skills. They're not something you're born with. You can learn. Like in my case, I've learned investing. My crypto account, I think, is like 140%, increase, and my overall investment portfolio is a return of 90%. That's better than Warren Buffett. Like a few years ago, I would never have imagined that I would have that kind of performance on my portfolio, and yet I was able to do it because I took action. I was proactive. I opened a Wealth Simple account and I started trading. I started analyzing, understanding finance. So in the same way, all these skills are skills that you can learn. And by the way, speaking of finance, obviously investing is something you have to learn, because even if ChatGPT one day is able to trade options, on your behalf, it's able to buy Nvidia when there's a dip, or buy Bitcoin when there's a dip, or do some kind of DCA with Bitcoin, you're still gonna have to be the manager, because nobody is foolish enough just to give carte blanche to ChatGPT, right? You're always going to be the supervisor. So you have to understand the basics of investing. And on that topic, I just want to recommend quickly the book by Mary Buffett, The Art of Interpreting Financial Statements. Now, I have a business degree, so I can read financial statements. But what's great about this book is that Mary, who was she's the ex-daughter-in-law of Warren Buffett, and she wrote in the preface that Warren approves this book. Okay, because look, his name is on it, right? So this book is very good. And not only does Mary go over each line of the income statement and the balance sheet, and she explains in a very simple language what it means, but she also teaches you how Warren Buffett is thinking. Okay, and that is super valuable. So this is the first book that you should definitely read. There are other books, on investing, but I think this is the foundational book. If you're a parent, please buy this book for your kids for Christmas. Okay, they may not want this as a Christmas gift, but as a bonus. Okay, you gotta buy it for your kids. And I tell parents, I've created a membership site called Super Parents Network. This is for super parents. It's for probably 10% of the parent population who are serious and ambitious. Of course, 100% of parents love their kids, but only 10% really understand what I'm teaching. That's why I created a membership site called Super Parents Network, and you can easily join. You pay only $50 a month, and you have access to all of my knowledge. And because I really want to support parents. And if you don't want to invest $50 a month to give your kids the best knowledge possible, because I've read like over 1,000 business books. Actually, not business, I've read over 1,000 books on business, marketing, sales, futurism, for example, the book The Extreme Future by James Canton, all the books by Alvin Toffler. I read books. I don't read fiction. I read books on psychology, on technology, on e-commerce. My point is that if you want your kids to benefit from all my files, all my book summaries, just invest $50, and you can share with your husband or your wife, with all your kids. You can share with your family, your friends on Facebook. I don't care. I just need $50 a month to join Super Parents Network. With my knowledge, your kids will become entrepreneurs. They're not going to be slaves. Okay, this is one thing that I argue with my brother Joe. I'm telling him, Joe, employees are slaves. Okay, they're slaves because they don't have freedom. They're not slaves like African American before the Civil War. But my contention, and you can disagree, but my contention is that employees are slaves in the sense, not slave in the sense that they work hard and under harsh conditions, in the sense that they have no freedom, 9 to 5 days a week, which is why I quit the corporate game, even though I was a top performer in June 2000. I realized 25 years ago, look, this is stupid. I have the best boss in the world. I'm just gonna give her a shout out here. Danielle was the best boss I ever had, and I've worked for over 12 or 13 different organizations from different industries. Danielle was the best. My co-workers were the best. I have a beautiful sales executive. I'm not gonna mention the name, but because she's married now, she has kids, for crying out loud. So let's call her Stephanie. And she was interested in me. We're almost flirting every day. Anyways, the best co-workers, the best clients, the best contract trainers, because I was managing contract trainers as a project coordinator. And so in June 2000, I got it, because remember, I have a business degree from McGill University. I graduated in 1999. One day later, I started working for that company called the CDI, Corporate Education Services. So I learned everything about corporate education and instructional design. But anyways, my point is that 25 years ago, I understood I was a slave. And so today, if there are people like Joe who still believe that employees are not slaves, well, I don't agree with that. Like Joe himself, he's not a slave. He's an investor. He quit the corporate world. So it's a mystery to me why Joe is, but I think Joe understands that employees don't have freedom. He just objects to the word slave, and I agree. That's why I say that slaves only in the sense that they have no freedom, 9 to 5 days a week. And nowadays, you can see that employers want the people to go back to the office. You cannot work from home anymore. Okay, so you're a slave. So anyways, parents who join will get all my skills, my video training, my library online, and I use OneDrive, which has like 1 terabyte. So all of my files for your kids. And I want to tell parents, look, if you don't join Super Parents Network, your kids will become a slave working for other kids who are business owners. So anyways, that's my ad. Okay, so let's go back here. Hold on, let me just the zoom here is not quite. So my point here is that, and I agree with Joe, AI will develop much faster than you think. And if anything, if you look at the history of AI development, every time that there's a new development in AI, everyone is surprised. Like, November 2022, even AI experts were surprised that ChatGPT came out. Okay, and then you had like GPT-4, GPT-5, you have Sora for image generation, you have DeepSeek, which is an open source model from China. Like every time it comes out, people are shocked. So if anything, even if you could predict the development of AI, it's still going to surprise you when it comes out, in 2027, 2028. So there's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing. You can watch like tons of videos on YouTube about how AI develops, but there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do, the only thing you should do is focus on those orthogonal skills, that you can develop along the vertical arrow axis here. Leadership, become more proactive. Trust me, all of you who are watching this live stream, all of you are too slow. You're thinking too small. I'm thinking too slow. I'm thinking too small. So it's not something I judge people on. I'm like that. I'm not proactive enough. I should be more proactive. I should take more action faster, think bigger. Copywriting too. I have to deepen my knowledge of copywriting and storytelling. I have to imagine more products. I don't imagine products at a faster rate enough. I have to develop my comedy skills, of course. So all these are things that you can and you should develop. Your children have to study that. And trust me, you don't learn those skills at school. Like even business and investing, I didn't learn it, even though, I went to business school for 3 years and I paid like $15,000, which is very cheap compared to American universities. But $15,000 is still $15,000, right? And it's 3 years of my life, and I didn't learn investing. I didn't learn business. I learned how to manage other people's management functions. I didn't know exactly what business is all about. So don't rely on schools and colleges and to teach you these orthogonal skills. They don't know. They don't even know about ChatGPT. Like schools even forbid the use of ChatGPT, for crying out loud, which is crazy. And so now I'm gonna show you quantitatively what you stand to gain. So let's say that you have two people. You have so first of all, AI is gonna develop, okay? And let's say that AI develops and it reaches this stage of AI development. Okay, that's conservatively, but we also have to look at the other side, right? It could also reach this level of AI development. And so like we saw here, it depends, right? It could run ads for you. It could create ebooks for you. So those are along the axis of AI development. So we don't know how AI is going to develop here, or it can develop all the way over here. We don't know, but we know that it's going to go in this direction for sure. That's all we know, okay? But you can't do anything about it. So the only thing you can do is develop your skills. So if you develop your orthogonal skills, okay, skills that cannot be replicated by AI, and if you're at this level, okay, so let's say that this is person A, and you have another person who developed her skill at this level. So this is, let's say, person B. So what you do is that you create an area made up by the y-axis and the x-axis. So for the person A, it's going to be like this. This is assuming that AI develops maximally. Maximally means over here. Okay. Then the AI person will reap the benefits over here. But the B person who focused more on her skills development, you do the arrow and you can see that she's getting money and benefits over here, which is way above A. So B is going to be the winner. So that's what I mean. Like I'm actually showing you in a graph to help you to understand the benefits you're going to get. And the benefits that you get from AI development, compared to person B here, because there's always going to be competition. AI is not going to eliminate the competition. This is what I was telling Joe. AI is like a horse. I'm sitting on my horse, you're sitting on your horse, but whose horse is going to be faster? Well, the person B is going to have a faster horse because she develops skills, while person A is just waiting for AI and she's not doing anything. And so it's like that. AI is like a horse. AI, it can be a dinosaur. I'm sitting on my dinosaur, you're sitting on your dinosaur, but there's going to be only one winner, okay? until we reach the Star Trek economy and everyone is a winner. But even in the Star Trek economy, look at it objectively, there's only an elite crew that gets to go on the Enterprise, right? So still, in a Star Trek economy, you have a hierarchy. Okay, so AI is not going to eliminate the hierarchy that we have in the future. It might not be about money. It might be about skills and leadership. So you can see that Captain Kirk is at the top of the hierarchy because he has leadership, he has courage, he has intelligence, he has creativity. Spock has logical intelligence, but Kirk is a hero because he has courage, he has leadership, he has compassion, all those qualities. And so that's my message to you, and especially if you're a parent, AI will develop naturally. You don't have to follow AI. You don't have to, you have to experiment with AI, but you don't have to spend so much time becoming worried about AI, because you won't have to worry about AI for your job, for your children, if you focus on orthogonal skills development. Orthogonal. I have to repeat that word so many times because it's so hard. Orthogonal. Orthogonality. Okay? Orthogonal. You have to focus on developing orthogonal skills, or AI resistant skills that have nothing to do with AI. And then you're going to be person B. You're going to reap all the benefits. It could be money, it could be status, it could be prestige, but you're going to be ahead of person B. And that's my ultimate message to Joe. It's not me against AI. It's not you against AI. It's you against this person B. It's you against the aggressive competitor out there who was smart enough to develop his leadership. He was smart enough to develop his proactivity. Take action. Like, don't just sit there watching a Netflix movie or listening to Joe Rogan. I mean, I love Joe, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not getting any benefit from Joe, even though I've listened to him and Lex Friedman for hours. Interesting, but I do something else while I'm listening to them on my headset. You have to learn innovation. Innovation is not easy. You got to read books, and I'm going to recommend a book here on innovation. It's called Winning at New Products by Robert Cooper. You have to read this book. Okay, this is not, I can predict what Joe is going to say. This is not something you can learn from ChatGPT, because this book is a technical book. You got to read it. How are companies, entrepreneurs winning when they create new products? Like, even corporations like Fortune 500 companies, they over 50% of their new products fail, and we're talking about corporations. And so you need to know the technical aspects of how to create new products. So when I talk about these skills, whether it's comedy or copywriting or leadership, you have to read a book. Watching a YouTube video is not enough. You have to take a course that you pay for, and so you need to invest. You cannot learn from YouTube videos because, again, people have to be logical. If you're getting something for free on YouTube, what do you think is the value of that free YouTube video? It's zero. Because if it was worth something, the YouTuber would charge for it. Okay? But when you look at books by Robert Cooper here, or books on leadership, books on copywriting, on sales, on comedy, you have to pay for those books, and that's because they contain valuable knowledge. So use your common sense. Whatever you're getting for free on YouTube, it's free because it doesn't have much value. It might still have some value. I'm not saying it has zero value, but it doesn't have as much value as when you're reading a book. You're sitting in a library and you're sitting there for 3-4 hours and you're absorbing this book. It's not the same thing as learning from ChatGPT. Okay, when you learn from ChatGPT, you write a prompt, it spits out something. Oh yeah, it's smart, makes sense, but you're not engaging intellectually. You have to engage intellectually. And the test as to whether you're able to learn valuable knowledge in a way that is structured from a book, the test is this. I'm going to put this test because so many people use ChatGPT. They think they're learning, but they're not really learning. And obviously, because I'm a teacher, I have a very high standard when it comes to learning. But here's my high standard. Here's a test. Can you give a webinar of 60 minutes on a topic that you've learn. It doesn't matter where you learn from: ChatGPT, from books, from a friend, from a course at college, etc. If you're not able to give a webinar of 60 minutes, and let's say you charge people, right? Because anyone can give a webinar, they can just talk nonsense. But let's say you charge people $10 for 60 minutes. Okay, $10 is nothing. If you're able to convince people to attend your webinar and they pay you $10, then you have learned something from ChatGPT, from books, from your friend, from a course, etc. But if you're not able to teach 60 minutes, and this is nothing, like when I teach at Taft College, I teach for 45 hours, all right, like non-stop. I could teach non-stop. So I know email marketing, I know copywriting, I know professional sales, I know entrepreneurship like the back of my hand. I know how to write a business plan. I know B2B marketing and sales. I can teach for 45 hours. And so this is a very easy test, just 60 minutes. If you're gonna teach for 60 minutes on a topic that you've learned, doesn't matter what the source is, then you haven't acquired knowledge. You acquired information. It's not knowledge. It's not really valuable. It's just a bunch of information and concepts that you have in your head. It's not useful. And so that's a whole different webinar I'm going to give in the future, where I explain to people the difference between knowledge versus intelligence, including AI. AI is a kind of intelligence, but it's not knowledge. And knowledge is powerful. I can sell my knowledge, but you cannot sell OpenAI can sell ChatGPT, but it's a different story. It's not pure intelligence. But there's a difference. Knowledge is the capacity for effective action, and knowledge is power. Knowledge is profits. And it's different from intelligence. And intelligence is even not defined very carefully by most people. And so this is a major problem with AI. People don't define intelligence properly. Anyways, that's a whole different webinar that is fascinating, because I will convince you in that webinar that you should acquire as much knowledge as possible, which is even more valuable than the skills that you learn here. Because no matter how much leadership you have, how proactive you are, no matter how good you are in copywriting, you're still in the world of action. You still have to take action in the world. But knowledge is in a higher dimension or plane. It's really mysterious. When you have knowledge, you have power. And the best way to explain this is through the saying, when a man with knowledge meets a man or woman with money, the man with knowledge ends up with the money, and the man with money ends up with the knowledge. So it seems like, wow, Peter, of course this is the case. Of course, what are you talking about? But what I mean here is that the man who has knowledge is like, it's like he has a lit candle, and it doesn't cost him anything to share his knowledge. And so when he talks to a guy who has money, he gets the money, but he gets to keep his knowledge at the same time, right? Like when I teach email marketing or any course, I can teach like 40 different workshops. I teach, I speak, I get paid $80 an hour, I walk home, I still have my knowledge. But the guy who pays me, he doesn't have his money anymore. I have it. So can you see that knowledge is superior to money? And yet even smart people, successful entrepreneurs and investors, they don't understand that. Very few people understand. Like a successful investor like Morgan Housel, he understands that knowledge is infinite profits. He can sell his book, The Psychology of Money, which I haven't read, but I heard it's a good book. He can sell his Psychology of Money to 1 billion people. It doesn't cost him any more because it's an ebook. Like he can make $1 billion. His problem is it's just a matter of scale. So he can print money. But there are so many investors, successful people, entrepreneurs in business, politicians, they don't understand that. And this is yet another webinar I'm going to give. It's called Digital Thinking. And this webinar is really for successful people. If you're successful and your knowledge is not available in the form of ebooks or video courses, oh my God, you're losing millions of dollars. And this is something I'm gonna teach to my investor friends, my business owner friends. I have friends, investors who are millionaires. No, I'm gonna be the first billionaire among my friends. But I have friends who are millionaires. They don't understand digital thinking. They have all the knowledge in their heads, but it's completely hidden from the world, 8 billion people. So in my webinar, Digital Thinking, I'm going to talk about how you can capture your knowledge and sell to millions of people and make millions of dollars. Okay. So anyways, we're off track here, but my point is that, you got to focus on developing skills that are orthogonal to AI development, and that's how you're going to be a super duper winner. You're going to be like person A here. You're going to make all the money here, while person B will still make money because AI will develop. So I'm not saying, sorry, person A will still make money, but the money that she's going to make compared to person B is quite insignificant because she didn't take time to develop all the orthogonal skills here. So like I was telling Joe, it's not me against it's not me against AI. I'm not competing against ChatGPT. I'm on top of ChatGPT because I'm developing orthogonal skills that will allow me to amplify the profits, the benefits that I'm getting from ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Manus or Gemini. All these language models, they are working for me. They are working for me because I'm a B kind of person. I'm on top of all those models. So it doesn't matter how they develop. Elon Musk can create like Optimus robots and you get them for only $5,000, which is probably going to be the case for robots coming from China. It doesn't matter how fast they are, how smart they are. I'm still going to beat the person A. Okay, this is me right here. And I want you to be, this is me here. I'm here. I'm person B. But chances are, most people are person A. Most people are here. They are waiting for AI to develop. And again, they're not going to be losers. Everyone is going to win with AI development. But I don't just want to win. I want to be the alpha male. I want to be in here. And if you're the kind of person who wants to be, especially men, you should strive to be at the top of the hierarchy. If you're the kind of person who wants to be at the top here, then you have to develop your skills in a way that AI cannot replace you ever. And so obviously everyone's going to win. That's not what I'm saying to Joe. Obviously AI will develop. Everyone will have their own Jarvis. That's not my argument. My argument is that everyone has Jarvis from the Iron Man movie, but I'm going to be here, the guy on top, the billionaire. And I know this because I'm developing my skills in a way that will amplify the results I get from ChatGPT. Okay, guys, that's what I want to share with you. This is an extremely valuable webinar. I'm going to turn it into a video course to sell to my 21,000 LinkedIn connections. So you get it for free. So please enjoy it. Share it with your friends and family. It's on YouTube. And ask me any questions you have. This is what I do full time. I just want to help people to maximize the money they're going to make and to become really the alpha male or the alpha female. I want people to be in the top 5%. For me, it's not enough to help people to make money. AI eventually is going to help people make money. That's not the point. I want to help you to join the top 5% because I'm going to be there. Okay, so anyways, that's what I want to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you more in the next live stream.